One winter's evening, Fluttershy came to visit Henry. She had important news for him.
You'll have to be out early tomorrow morning because we're going to take the flying kipper. Oh, don't tell Gordon about this yet, but I think if we pull the fish train nicely, Sir Tom Pat will let us pull the Wild Nor'Wester. Also, the special coal we've been giving you has improved your work.
Hurrah! That will be lovely.
All kinds of ships used the harbor yard at Knapford Station on the west coast of the Sudrian Sea. There were passenger cruise liners, cargo ships and barges, and fishing tugboats also come in the area. They unload their fish on the quay. Some of them goes to local shops and markets in town, and the rest go to other places and towns across the island far away. It's all put on a special train that their workers call the Flying Kipper. By the time Henry and Fluttershy arrived at the harbor yard by 5 a.m., they were ready. There was snow and frost in the air. Workers hustled about, loading up the vans with the crates of fish. When the last door slammed, and when the conductor showed his green lamp, the Flying Kipper was ready to depart.
Come on, don't be silly.
The van shuddered and groaned as Henry inched forward out of the yard.
Yikes. All right. That is better.
Thick clouds of smoke and steam shot from his funnel into the cold air, and the light from his fire shone brightly in the dark. And to Fluttershy, seeing all this, it all seemed a magical moment for her.
It is the important train coming through.
They were going very well. Soon the light grew better, and the signal lights always shone green as they passed through. Then outside of Crosby, a yellow signal appeared just in front of them. Just as Fluttershy was preparing to stop, she then saw that the home signal was down.
Okay, Henry, all clear for the rest of the way.
They didn't know that the points from the main line to a siding were frozen, and that the signal should have been set at danger. But a recent snowstorm the night before had forced it down. Meanwhile, a goods train was waiting in the siding outside Crosby to wait for the Flying Kipper to go by, and its driver and fireman were drinking warm cocoa with the conductor in the brake van.
You get back out there, Jasper, because the Kipper is due any minute.
Who cares, bloke? This is the best cocoa I've ever had in a long time.
Just then, the driver got up. Come on, Jasper, old chum, back to our engine. We've got a schedule to keep. They got out, just in the nick of time.
Dominic boilers!
What? What is it, Henry?
No time to explain. Jump out of the automatic tube. Go now!
By the next morning, Henry regained consciousness after the crash. He found himself lying on his side in the snow, in a complete daze. He was then surprised to see Fluttershy leaning on his buffers, sobbing her little heart out.
Fluttershy, is that you?
Henry, you're alive. Are you all right?
I may have suffered a few dents on my boiler, but otherwise I'm fine. How did the Flying Kipper do? Is it still intact?
I'm sorry, Henry, but our train got splintered in the impact. It's all destroyed.
Oh, that's a shame. Now the fish will be spoiled. There, Fluttershy. It's only a trainload of fish. Nothing to cry over.
It's not that. You got hurt trying to save me, and now they're going to take you away to be scrapped.
Well then, I guess that's the way it has to be.
Oh
Fluttershy, listen to me. No matter what happens to me, you will always be the best pony friend I ever had.
But Fluttershy just went on sobbing as Henry continued to comfort his Pegasus friend. About an hour later, James and Rudy had brought the breakdown trying to help clear away the mess. Just then, Sir Topham Hatt came to see them both.
The signal was down, sir.
Please, sir, don't take Henry to the scrapyard. If he hadn't alerted me about the freight train and the sighting, I would have been killed. He saved my life. Please spare him.
Don't worry, Fluttershy. That's already been taken care of. I would never scrap Solar's strongest goods engine. Besides, ice and snow caused the accident here, not you. I'll be sending him to Crew, a fine place on the mainland for sick engines like Henry.
Oh, thank you, sir. But what about Henry's cracked boiler? Even if it's fixed, you'll still need the expensive Welsh coal.
Oh, don't worry. I already have an idea about how to fix that.
Henry liked being a Crew during the winter months, but was glad to come home again when springtime came.
A few days later, the Diesel arrived. He strolled in quietly and surveyed the shed. Not bad. I've seen worse. At least you're all clean. The engines glared at him. It's really not your fault, but the Fat Controller ought to scrap you and get more engines like me. A fill of oil, a touch on the starter, and I'm off. They have to fuss around with you for hours. The engines were furious, and the Diesel casually found his way to Henry's shed and had a rest after his long journey from the mainland. A few days later, the Diesel had a train to pull. He purred quietly in his shed, and an inspector watched as a fitter made final adjustments. The wind gently tugged at his bowler hat. The Diesel began to purr triumphantly out of his shed, and then it happened. The engines grinned as the Diesel broke down. I don't understand, this never happens. Eventually, the Diesel had to be shunted back into his shed. "There's my hat. You sucked it in through your air intake," called the inspector. And he had. The Diesel was stuck in the shed and watched as Duck set off to pull the train instead. The Diesel, feeling quite embarrassed of himself, had his shed door shut. He left behind only two things: a rather dreadful smell and a battered bowler hat. Spring came to the island of Sodor, and with it brought new changes, such as the addition of the private engine of the Duke and Duchess of Boxford, known as Lady. Don't you get sick of it? Sick of what? The way they treat us around here, you know what I mean? The favoritism towards steam engines. I'm getting really sick of the way they treat that lady. There's nothing special about her, and they love her. Doesn't it make you cross? No, I don't have a problem with anyone. I like it here. I don't think there's an issue at all. I think if anyone has a problem here, it's you, and if you'll excuse me, I have to be going now. I really need to finish my work. Oh, come on. Don't you see the way they look at her? I mean, have they ever given you that kind of attention? That's because Lady is polite and kind. I'm just a shunter. I don't expect admiration. I just do my job. Well, I guess you're betting for the other side. Yep, that's right. Goodbye now. A few weeks later, there was a terrible storm on Sodor. The next morning, the engines surveyed the damage. Broken branches lay everywhere. Sir Topham Hatt arrived. He seemed sort of off and wobbly. Due to the storm.
Ridiculous. It's simply a parlor trick. A teleporting man. The very idea is preposterous, I tell you.
Says the talking locomotive.
Fair play, Thomas. All the same, I suspect we could manage on our own. After all, how much could really happen in 1 week?
Get out of my way!
Help, police, murder! What in the blazes was that?
That is a problem. One of the new diesels the Fat Controller brought for a trial run. I call him Diesel 10. From what I hear, he's 10 out of 10 for devious deeds and brutal strength in the factory he came from. Really nasty claw he's got in his cab too. For moving timber, they say. Likely story.
Pah! Engines like that are nothing but trouble. Must look out for him. Wouldn't want to be caught on the wrong end of that claw.
You're telling me?
I'm not sure what this Mr. Conductor has in mind for him, but all the same, little Thomas, you must keep your funnel out of matters that don't concern you. We mainline engines will handle this, visitor.
Will do. Oh no! Hi there, you're the new Diesel, aren't you? Why, yes I am. And hello to you too, what's your name? The Diesel smiled. That was the first time anyone had asked him his name since he came to Sodor. My name's Andy. You? Well, they call me 10. I've never been given a proper name. Really? Wow.
The fully operational C10 model is going to be the flagship achievement of this company. And that's what I'm afraid of. Your little freak show will attract press, but it certainly raises a few moral questions. What if it develops feelings? Sir, with all due respect, this is an emotionless killing machine. It doesn't feel, it doesn't desire, it obeys orders. I've got the controls, and it will listen to my instructions and my instructions alone. There is no soul in that cold metal body. Whatever it feels isn't important. No heart, no mental significance. It's 10 out of 10 for brutal strength. And devious deeds.
Yeah, but I do like to call my little hydraulic claw here Pinchy. That's great. Pinchy. That's what I'll call you. Over the next few weeks, the Diesels became close friends. Eventually, they both knew that 10 was due back in Ireland, so Andy came up with a plan. You know, Pinchy, don't you get tired of seeing the way they treat that lady engine? You know, like she's all that. Yeah, I do. I mean, we're just as good as she is, right? What makes her so special? Right then, hey, I got a plan. I'm due up in the quarry mine in half an hour. I was thinking maybe if I, fake a little engine troubles, then I could get her to replace me. Then you follow her up there, and whatever happens, happens. And the two engines sat together and schemed for a long time until they had the whole plan completely worked out. Then, right on cue, Andy mysteriously broke down, and Lady was dispatched to fill in for him. Lady could not have heard the sound of 10 quietly purring up behind her. Making use of his hydraulic claw, he grabbed a hold of her backless cab and lifted her wheels off the ground. Then he surged forwards, throwing her off the front of the cliff face and into the ocean waters below. Are you certain of this? Yes, sir. I know what I saw. Well, I guess we got away with it. Uh-oh. You there, would you allow me to speak with 10 in private? Yeah, sure. What'd he say? Yeah, some workmen reported it. I'm off the island by tomorrow. The next day, 10 was off the island, and Andy was alone on Sodor once more. He tried many times, speaking to many different Diesels, attempting to restart some sort of revolution, but it was never successful. And then, one day in July, Sir Topham Hatt told him that Henry was due to return any day and that his services would no longer be needed soon. Andy left the island of Sodor, feeling that he had failed to accomplish his goal.
Some Welsh going on there. Fluttershy was so proud of Henry's new shape, it was like he never changed at all. Then he saw that a crowd of people were waiting at Vickerstown Station to see him arrive in his new appearance. He looked so splendid and strong that they gave him 3 cheers. The one who cheered the loudest was surprisingly Fluttershy.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry to say that a lot of little children were often late for school because they waited to see Henry and Fluttershy go by. They often see them pulling the Wild Nor'Wester, and they've done it so well that Gordon grew jealous. But that's another story.